Hello, my name is printf, and this is another one of my Cannon Rush tutorial videos. Today I'm going to be just describing various tricks and cool maneuvers that can be used to help win games. Although they may not be consistently useful, they're nice to know for when they are applicable. Often in a game, a Zerg will sneak drones out onto the map, and you want to keep track of them with your probe. So an easy way to do this is to right click on the drone so that your probe will follow it around. This looks good in theory, but if the Zerg just builds an extractor and then cancels it, your probe will stop chasing. Which means that he can then run off and build a hatchery somewhere else if you aren't paying attention. If instead of right-clicking on the drone, you just attack move near it, then your probe will continue to chase even if the drone moves way out of range of where you originally clicked. Additionally, if it builds the extractor, your probe will still be on an attack move command and will continue to pursue even if the extractor is built and then cancelled. This is much more reliable than simply target firing the drone. When cannon rushing a Protoss, occasionally, if their building placement happens to be very desirable, you can abuse their placement and prevent a unit from spawning. So generally, not all of these will be your own buildings, but mineral patches, edges of the map, or even the opponent's own buildings will serve just as well. If a gateway is fully surrounded, it is impossible for units to build because there's nowhere for them to spawn. They will just be stuck indefinitely in queue. It's also possible occasionally to force the unit to pop out somewhere it's completely useless. These zealots will do absolutely nothing bad for them. Very often, people will overreact to a cannon being placed and pull all the probes, even if doing so will not actually accomplish anything. If this happens, you can, at times, wall in all the probes like this, and receive to laugh as you win the game. As all the probes are just kind of stuck in here, doing very little. This can also be accomplished on some maps with a gateway. Sometimes an opponent will have a position such as this, with a stalker attempting to deny your cannon. However, you know the cannon will win the fight, and you don't want to cancel it. You can trap the stalker such like this, and secure yourself because the stalker has no way out. You can then cancel this pylon, and happy with the fact that you kill the stalker for 25 minerals. So cannons will auto-acquire the closest target, which is not always what you want them to be shooting at. For example, the gateway has 1,000 life, which is a lot, and pylons only have 400. So it's better to shoot a pylon, because then you can on-power the gateway, supply block them, a whole bunch of other good things, without having to go through the entire 1,000 life. But if you just right-click on a pylon, a stalker can come over and shoot you for free. That's not good. Now you can micro by like right-clicking on the stalker, then right-clicking on the pylon, and it leaves. But I mean, that's a lot of micro that nobody wants to really go through, and it gets quite difficult, and you're kind of screwed eventually. So what's significantly better is to right-click on the pylon, and then click the stop command. It will continue shooting the pylon and won't reacquire the gateway. However, when the stalker comes in, it has a higher attack priority, and the cannon will automatically shoot the stalker. When the stalker leaves, you will have to retarget the pylon and hit stop again, but at least removes one action from the sequence. So very often, a Protoss will use a stalker to attempt to deny your cannon creep. Probes, while not the strongest units in the game, can actually help win you the game by simply tanking a few shots. 30 damage on a probe is 42 damage on a cannon, and having that cannon with 42 extra life can win you the game. This is where the cannon would die, and this is where the cannon wins you the game. So in one of my previous videos, I mentioned that a pylon and a gateway will solidly wall off a bottom of the ramp, and of course everybody knows that 3 pylons will do the same thing. But what is a little bit more subtle is that 2 pylons, if well placed, can make it so that probes can pass through, and zealots can pass through, but stalkers cannot. This is quite helpful because you can trap enemy stalkers, which makes any threats of a counterattack negligible. You have to place both pylons so that they have a diagonal connection right here, and are 1 hex off from what looks like the walled ramp. However, it's actually a perfectly tight wall because that's how ramps are at the bottom of the ramp. Not at the top, though. At the top, this is not doable. A 2 pylon wall at the top of the ramp will not do anything. A very common response from Zerg players is to run into your base with a drone and build a hatchery. This can also be built in your natural, in your main base, at some random point on the map. The idea is they're building a hatchery with the purpose of killing you. So an easy way to deal with this, to completely render it useless, is to build a pylon exactly here, with 1 pylon's hex range between the 2. So 2 hexes, 1 pylon's width. And then once the pylon finishes, you build a cannon exactly here, and a cannon exactly here, so that both of them are diagonal with the pylon. It is also important that the pylon is 1 hex in from one side of the hatchery, which is 2 hexes in from the other side. What this does is it means that any roach that is morphed cannot actually escape, because roaches are quite fat. Probes and lings and drones can run through all of these holes. Well, not this one right here. There's no hole here. So you do have to be concerned about lings. You can block in lings with 3 probes well placed. But the important thing is that roaches cannot escape. Roaches are fast. Which makes this fairly useless, as the only real threat is lings. And again, lings can be blocked by a couple well-positioned probes. So something that has been mentioned numerous times by Jack Attack is the choose ability, or AI targets, hotkey under global hotkeys under unit management. If you go here and add as an alternate whatever you want, it doesn't really matter what it is, I use Q, then this comes quite in handy when cannon rushing. So if an enemy is trying to break through your pylon, you can get ready to warp in a pylon, hold down that button, and then as soon as it dies, you build a new one. I've also seen people just kind of spam the left click, but that's not as good because it's less frequent and requires significantly more effort on your part. And we're trying to win with ease here, not with 4000 APM that isn't even doing anything. So a common and often annoying response from Zerg is building a spine crawler. If you can get away with it, have your probes harass this as much as possible. Now, often there are a couple lings that will shoo away your probes, but you can sometimes retreat into the range of a cannon, or even just poke back and forth with that. Sometimes the cannon will already guard your probes, and that's helpful. Sometimes you'll force drones to be pulled, and that removes mining time. Regardless, doing any amount of damage to the spine crawler is great, and 2 probes can even kill it if they attack immediately. Sometimes 1 probe will be off scouring the map, and you'll only have 1 probe available to attack the spine crawler. This won't do nearly as much damage, as it's half the DPS exactly, but it will still do a good job of reducing the health of the spine, and will often allow you to win if you have a cannon building and a spine crawler building at the same time, and you want your cannon to win that fight as handily as possible. Probes can do a good deal of work towards achieving that goal. With the spine crawler at half-life, your cannon can now easily dispatch it, even if it started many seconds later. Quite often the Zerg won't be exactly thrilled about you trying to build stuff at his natural, or even his main, so he'll pull drones to come try and kill off your pylons and your cannons and stuff. Since you have probes here anyway, you might as well extend their use by harassing them a little bit. He'll take even more unkindly to you trying to kill his drones, but you don't really care about his feelings. And you can get a couple of drone kills with this. Just be careful to not lose your probe. Doing that is not ideal. A common response from Kotos is to cut the cybernetics core entirely, get some zealots, and just kill the pylon at the high ground, and then deny you high ground. If you see this happening, throw down a gateway, and then it doesn't really matter what you do from here. The cannon will finish, and even if he does everything he can to deny you from getting a probe up, even if maybe mineral walking doesn't help, you can still keep your probe alive down here, and then that gateway will provide you plenty of vision to escort a probe up here, and then build pylons, cannons, and whatever else you desire. Because, from what I hear, cannons are pretty good defense. Very often, Terran players will, if they defend the cannon rush, or even if they happen to just fly away, will use some Reapers to come harass your probes. At lower levels, you can just kind of move towards the Reapers and kill them, but if a Terran player is paying attention, that's not even remotely consistent. And even with a single cannon in your mineral line, you can lose a lot of probes to Reapers. If, however, you place your first pylon inside your mineral line, it will only minimally disrupt your mineral income, and will save your life if a Terran comes to harass you with Reapers. With 2 cannons, there is no room for a Reaper to harass your mineral line, and this could win you the game. So I hope you found this video helpful, and that at least one of these tricks will come in handy in one of your games. And if you did enjoy this video, then go ahead and check out the other 2 videos I made on cannon rushing mechanics, the links for which are on the screen right now.